The guy shooting from a parking garage downtown is charged with criminal mischief? What the actual funky situation in state politics? A candidate for Senate decides to keep her old seat, only to find a friend running to replace her. Who wants to stay in the hospital? Apparently, a lot of people. It's why Denver Health is getting into the housing business. And Thanksgiving 911? Yes, I'd like to report more of your holiday fails. Next. The guy accused of firing a rifle from a parking garage downtown is charged with nothing more serious than criminal mischief. Our Marshall Zellinger looks at the charge that sounds like something out of Scooby-Doo.
This is what criminal mischief might look like. This bullet hole, this shattered window, this exit hole, these shards of glass. This is one of the 2 cars hit by bullets over the weekend in Rhino. The guy accused of causing the damage is Brian Lambert. Police arrested him at a nearby parking structure with an AR-15 style rifle, 3 gun magazines, and 9 spent shell casings. The Denver District Attorney just charged him with a few crimes. The most serious one, criminal mischief. A property crime.
Criminal mischief is all about damage and how much damage was done.
Timothy Lane works for the Colorado District Attorney's Council and is not part of the Denver DA's team involved in this specific case. But he agreed to talk with us about why someone accused of firing a gun in public would be charged similar to someone who graffitied a building or took a key to multiple cars.
Criminal mischief, it doesn't matter how it's accomplished. If it's done with a hammer, if it's done with a hand, if it's done with a key, if it's done with a gun. Other charges may apply when you have a case involving a gun.
And Lambert has been charged with gun crimes, including using a large capacity magazine while committing a crime. According to Denver police, 2 of the 3 gun magazines found with Lambert hold 30 bullets. They found one of them with 20 bullets remaining. As we've told you recently, Colorado's law bans gun magazines holding more than 15 bullets. Still, with someone accused of shooting onto a public street, why is the most serious charge something called criminal mischief? Something that sounds like it's out of a cartoon caper.
We have to look at and find an actual victim, either someone that we can name and have come into court, or someone we can point to and say this individual was the victim of a person's crime.
Now, if you're thinking the next step up would be attempted murder, I learned that's not the case. Just because you think someone's walking on that sidewalk may not be an attempted murder charge. Kyle, the next step up from mischief might be menacing before we get to the attempted murder.
Okay, that makes sense. And just a reminder that there actually are professionals that deal with these things in the law, and all of us who just kind of sit back in armchair it, not the experts.
Correct. And these are legitimate charges. You just have to be able to prove what the law says. In criminal mischief, you have to prove damage of a certain amount, which that's why this charge is between $5,000 and $20,000 of damage.
And at the end of the day, we're grateful that it wasn't a more serious situation. All right. Thank you, Marshall. State Senator Angela Williams is ending her campaign for the U.S. Senate. She shared a lot of moderate views with the Democratic frontrunner, former Governor John Hickenlooper, though Williams offered party leaders a chance to pick somebody other than yet another older white guy. But party power brokers have lined up behind Hickenlooper, and that made anybody else's chances a real long shot. Williams now ends up in an awkward game of political musical chairs, because while she was off running for the U.S. Senate, that other guy there, fellow Democrat and a friend of hers, State Rep James Coleman, announced that he was going to run for her seat to represent Northeast Denver, and he picked up some big-time endorsements. He's not going anywhere, and Williams says she will now run for re-election. So that Democratic primary, Williams-Coleman, a race to watch. We don't get the Colorado-style shovel-free snow cleanup this time, just too cold. So what fell is sticking around through Thanksgiving. High of only 18 degrees at the airport today. And before we can think about melting off what's on the ground, some of Colorado is getting more snow on Friday. Like that one relative who stays too long after the party's over. You know, thanks, but no thanks.
It is such a cold night in downtown Denver and about to get colder, but not as cold as this morning. The low was -2. Temperatures today about a 10-degree span from 18 all afternoon at DIA to 28 downtown. We did manage an actual high of 21, but that is less than half of where we should be for this time of year. A lot going on. Yesterday's storm is tracking east. Tropical moisture is feeding in from the south, and a powerful storm in California will bring a blizzard north of Colorado and a few snow showers to our region begin here starting on Friday. All the heavy snow comes into the high country starting tomorrow night, where winter weather and travel advisories will go out. Tonight, areas of fog, freezing drizzle, and light snow have prompted National Weather Service to issue advisories for travel out on the extreme eastern plains east of Akron and Lyman. In Denver, cloudy, cold, dry night. Our low at 14. Southwest winds should get us close to 40 for Thanksgiving, the nicest day of the week. We do see temperatures trending below average into the weekend with a 30% chance of snow Friday. I don't have accumulation in on Friday. And then temperatures finally back in the 40s, late 40s and 50s as we move into the first part of next week. So hopefully with this next storm coming in, you won't look like Joel here, Kyle, out working hard like we did with this last storm.
Pretty sure if he was working hard, he'd have a shovel, but that's just my opinion. All right, thank you, Kathy. Denver Health is getting into housing these days. It's because some of their patients end up living at the hospital month after month because they have nowhere else to go. Our Nusha Roy explains how the real impact of what's happening here is just the idea of hospitals getting into housing.
Denver Health says one patient occupied a bed for more than 4 years. Another needed 8 weeks of at-home IV antibiotics, but had no home. A third with dementia came to the hospital after being released from jail because his family didn't want to take him. It's a problem the Denver Housing Authority wasn't really aware of until they started talking to Denver Health. Now they're turning this vacant Denver Health office building on Broadway into affordable housing, including 15 studios for patients who can keep up their treatment without occupying a hospital bed.
It's a way to kind of solve two problems: permanent affordable housing, but also some shorter-term housing options for people who need it.
If you think 15 studios for chronic homeless patients doesn't sound like enough, you're right. It's not. In the first half of this year, Denver Health had 100 long-term patients, and Denver Housing Authority said in a perfect world there would be many more units.
I am sure it's, maybe in the thousands.
Then there's the question of what happens after. The patients will work with the Housing Authority to find a permanent home, but can stay in the studio until that happens. And of course, there's an affordable housing shortage in Denver, and the city hopes to build 6,000 more units over the next 5 years.
And unfortunately, the affordable housing work that we're doing seems to be a drop in the bucket often.
But both organizations know something needs to be done and found promise in this idea.
I think 655 is a model that can be scaled up, and it shows that there is a solution that's feasible.
So Denver Health said that legally and morally it can't discharge a patient if they don't have a safe place to go, and that's what's going to keep happening until these new units, and they're not opening up until 2021. Sometimes those hospitals can work with private landlords to help with housing, but that is first come first serve with some pretty obvious challenges with that, Kyle.
I mean, talk about obvious, Anusha. If they are unable to discharge somebody who doesn't have a safe place to go, you can imagine that the cost would rack up astronomically when people just kind of get stuck at the hospital.
Yeah, so Denver Health was saying that it costs roughly $2,700 a day to keep somebody in one of their hospital beds versus the rent for one of these units, which will be anywhere between $600-700 a month. But the city says if a patient can't afford it, they're going to step in to cover those costs as well. So big difference there.
Wow. Now how to scale it from 15 to a couple of thousand.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Nusha. May I make a recommendation, something that's worth listening to this holiday weekend? So you know that our 9 Wants to Know team has been revealing white supremacist ideology that's alive and well in Colorado. Our state's most infamous white supremacist hate crime is the subject of an excellent podcast that's called The Order of Death. It examines the execution of Alan Berg, a talk show host here in the 1980s. A lot of people will be familiar with this, but white supremacists targeted Berg because he was Jewish and outspoken against hate. It's never been more relevant. I have a link to the podcast on the next Facebook page.
It's not where you want to be on Thanksgiving.
We know what it's like to be here in the holidays. It's hard.
In memory of their son, these parents go back to the hospital each year.
This is why we do what we do, is to keep him alive.
And you share your family's Thanksgiving stories, some sweet, some sad, some laugh out loud funny. Next.
Take your fake perfect holiday to Instagram. We're celebrating holiday fails because it's the thought that counts. If the story from 1946 is still being told, you know it's a good one. Sarah Ann's mother, Janice, was a young bride hosting her first Thanksgiving in 1946, tried to make homemade biscuits. They turned out hard as baseballs. So the family took him outside and hit him with a bat. The marriage survived that incident and another 72 years after that. Sarah wrote into us telling us the story, mentioning that her mom had passed away in March. So Sarah Ann, I hope this year when you pass the rolls, everybody smiles, has a good laugh. That's also a reminder, though, that a lot of families are dealing with loss or illnesses at holidays this year. The Wood family knows that feeling. And they told our Byron Reed that they are intent on making the holidays at the hospital a bit better.
So this is Kyle's kindergarten picture.
Like any parent,
This was his first day of first grade.
Beth Wood is grateful for every minute she got to share with her son Kyle.
In the 6 years, he was so charismatic. And so when I look at them, it reminds me of keeping his fun alive.
Kyle was only 6 years old when he lost his battle with leukemia.
He was in the hospital during Thanksgiving, and there was a family, our little boy, that didn't have a family, and we brought a pie over.
Beth and her family started delivering desserts and Thanksgiving meals in 2002
We have pumpkin pies and cherry pies.
to families going through tough times during the holidays.
This is a way for families to have private family time around Thanksgiving to share and eat a pie and remember the sweet times.
So you're more than welcome to take 1 or 2 pies home.
Moments that Brenda Land hopes to share with her family. They're here from the Dominican Republic,
My baby boy, he's in the hospital.
spending the holiday caring for her 2-month-old son at Rocky Mountain Children's Hospital.
It's hard, especially because my kids are still small. They want mommy to stay with them, play with them, and I'm here with the baby.
Wood hopes this is a way to keep her son's memory alive
Kyle was that person. He always found a sweet moment.
so families can remember the sweet times during Thanksgiving.
Just love each other, enjoy the moment. You know, we just don't know what other moments we have.
For Next,
You don't know anything about him, they give it to you. That's really love.
I'm Byron Reed.
Kyle's mom says they started by delivering 4 pies. Now they hand out full Thanksgiving meals and dessert at 2 children's hospitals as well as Brent's Place. Can we squeeze another holiday fail? You guys have sent in a ton of them. This one's great. So our photojournalist Mike Grady took a picture of his mom the year that her oven quit during Thanksgiving, and she called in backup. So Grady and his sister trucked the half-cooked bird clear across town to their uncle's house where they used his oven, and while they were waiting, they ate Thanksgiving there. It was the first of a double header of dinners. The most Colorado thing we've seen today is a call for help. Help clearing Jeffco Stadium before Friday and Saturday's high school playoff games. Jeffco Schools is asking for any volunteer who's able to show up with a shovel Friday morning at 7 a.m. Neighbors all shoveling out a stadium so that the kids can play football is the most Colorado thing we saw today. Share yours with the hashtag HeyNext or email next@9news.com.
How about a second helping of your holiday fails, like the time that Grandma's eyesight led to an interesting ingredient list? And you know, if you're tired of talking turkey, you could do something else this Thanksgiving.
If you want to try something new, then I could explore the world, see what other people do.
Sharing all kinds of traditions. Next.
Let's stroll some more down your trail of fails, remembering that it's the thought that counts. You sent us so many of them this year. Viewer named David told me that his grandma was an incredible cook, but as her eyesight faded, one year she reached into the fridge and grabbed the wrong milk. And that was the year that they had chocolate mashed potatoes. David said nobody had the guts to complain. Keep the fails coming. These stories become our holiday lore, you know, our stories and our family traditions. They are whatever we choose. There's no reason tradition just has to be traditional.
It is gorgeous.
Because the snow, it kind of gives like a different feeling and atmosphere.
Somewhere in Colorado near Denver.
We are in Boulder, Colorado.
On Pearl Street Mall in Boulder, Colorado.
Boulder.
Tomorrow is Thanksgiving.
What are you guys thankful for?
My dog, Netflix.
Thankful for my girlfriend coming out here for the first time to meet my parents, which is exciting. And I'm thankful for Ralph here.
I'm thankful to live in Colorado.
Family and
Wi-Fi.
food, Wi-Fi.
I have 6 kids, so 3 of them live in Denver, and my mom and my uncle are here from Florida, so we're going to get together and have a meal tomorrow. We've been kind of spread out, so this is one of the first years we're actually getting together for a while.
It's never been in our family.
It's not really something we do. We'll have like our own mini feast. It's not like the regular Thanksgiving
might go
feast
out
that
to eat,
people would imagine that we would have. There's like this tortilla thing called roti, and then we use like different vegetables to make different like things that we eat it with.
Watch football all day, eat a lot of food, a lot of good food.
I like the food. I like eggnog.
Gonna eat a bunch of turkey. Good boy.
If you want to try something new, then I could explore the world, see what other people do.
Thanksgiving is probably my favorite thing.
Why not spice it up this year? Do something different. You get the last word as always. Next. We will round out the holiday fails with some pie problems. Abby sent us this photo with the caption, "We didn't need that pie anyway," or the rug that it melted. Here's the deal. Our next family is going to take Thanksgiving off this year, but if your holiday goes hilariously awry, take a photo and send it our way. Email it to next@9news.com. We're going to share the best of them on Friday. And do you remember how we kicked this series off again this week with Sydney and her dad Les, the guy who liked to brine his turkey in juicy juice? He was watching.
Sydney says Dad is convinced that the best way to brine a turkey is in juicy juice, the stuff they give kids.
Sydney said every year they hide the juicy juice from Dad so he can't do it, but now their cover is blown. And that's a man laughing and sending his daughter a photo of the juicy juice because he's going to try it once more this year. Debbie emailed in during the break to say that her best holiday fail was the year that they bought a pre-cooked turkey and then left it out several days to thaw. Jackie wrote in and said, "I love how the unthinkable things that can happen become the best stories down the road. They make the best stories so long as nobody dies." That appears to be a direct thread back to the time that Debbie left that pre-cooked turkey out for several days. Milo Ramirez writes in to say, "No fails. Wife is a great cook." I think Milo might get a little extra dessert this year. Milo. See you next time. Have a happy Thanksgiving.